welcome along to Bangkok Chitchat Pattaya report, and it's a sort of a part two. If you saw part one, then you know what we're on about. If you haven't seen part one, then please just check the video before. We looked at promotion and transport and entertainment on our top 6 Pattaya improvements. And guess what, folks? We did mention COVID once. It's a first. I
think we're just taking it for granted.
I just did. So anyway, Craig, who's our reporter from Pattaya, has joined us in the studio, along with, of course, Andrew. Let's get into part 2.
Okay, so this my part is law enforcement. So I basically present my thoughts and everybody else can comment. And please give your comments back as well.
But don't interrupt you while you're doing it.
Thank you. Right, so with law enforcement, I think one of the things there's maybe a problem with is there enough police in Pattaya? Now, I think we have to manage things with regards to patrolling. What we get is, if there's a problem, someone calls the police, and if it's a falang, or a tourist for that matter, maybe there's somebody that doesn't speak English on the other side and they don't know what to do. I like the idea when it's a resort that they actually have like the old Bobby style, and they walk around, and they patrol
the pavement,
and not on their motorcycle, but they can actually engage with the tourists.
They have visibility.
Yeah, have visibility. So it's the old style of the Bobby. They get to know the people, they get to know the pubs, they get to know this, and they work as it becomes really. The tourist becomes part of the community, so they have a beat. That's something I would like to see, because every time you see a policeman, the first thing he goes, oh God, what are they going to get me for? There's a build-up of fear. Now, a tourist shouldn't feel that, and maybe a tourist doesn't feel that, but there's that impression. Second thing is, they've got to sort out these scams. So whether it's the umbrella things there, where there's too much of them, jet skis, or just the different scams. They've got to sort it out. For me, I think personally, I have a feeling that Pattaya is far more dangerous than Bangkok. I've heard so many stories. There's people doing bag grabs and things like that on motorcycles. I think it's got as an expat, more dangerous than Bangkok. And I know we're going to get a lot of people saying absolute rubbish. But that's the impression.
I think absolute rubbish.
Okay, all right, it's fine. I also think there should be more of a sort of a tourist assistance, more information boxes, which are actually manned and not empty. So if they need advice as a tourist advice, especially on the beach road, there's more information assistant points. Corruption is in every city in the world, no matter what, but it's just made so public. It's just so obvious. You hear it from bar owners, you hear it from shakedowns or whatever it is, which gives a bad impression. And maybe there isn't as much as it's just they focus on particular things and it gets a bad reputation. Or maybe it's a total lie. But corruption, I think, has to be sorted out. And a final thing is for the guys who are maybe in their early 20s, they go down there and they think they're in Ibiza and they get absolutely paralytic, 4 o'clock in the morning, or somebody's absolutely legless and they're causing problems. I think they should have a drunk tank.
See you there. Oh, sorry.
Right. So if somebody's causing a problem, maybe you're not arresting them.
Not just drunk.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
You take them and you put them in a cell overnight, and maybe there's a fine because someone has to clean that cell or whatever it is. But it's a shock to the system. And the final thing I think there should be is something within the hotels or wherever it is, or even in the airlines, when they're arriving, something to say, this is how we expect you to behave. Right? This is within the Thai culture, how you should behave. Don't point your feet, don't touch heads, don't argue. If you have an issue or a problem in a bar or in a pub, call this number, or your Bobby is there and they come in and sort it out. So taking away all this Wild West, because every time something happens, Thailand gets a terrible rep on things that happen, which is generally through to an idiot tourist or expat or whoever it is, and it's in the British papers, or guy gets mugged, or there's a theory that some people who are a bit suicidal come to Pattaya, have a great time, and then jump out the hotel hotel room. So I think that's my point about law enforcement. I think it should be better. It should be like friendlier. It should be more. It should be seen as more organised. It's a publicity thing.
I think to call it law enforcement already leaves a sort of a nasty taste in my mouth. I think when it comes to police, I think the tourist police are doing as good a job as they can with the manpower that they have. Even Walking Street is, they have a tourist police booth.
That's the point I was going to make, actually.
Okay, you go. You're the Pattaya guy. Go on.
Well, I was just saying, to be fair to Pattaya, they've got that type of infrastructure in place already. Yes, it needs to be
just in the
expanded.
Zones.
Yeah, I mean, again, it depends on if we're looking at the sort of new sort of idea for Pattaya, like we were speaking about in the previous episode. Then yes, that idea of having a sort of gentrified approach with the police is obviously important. As you say, you have a tourist police, maybe one Farang and a Thai, walking side by side. They're not packing guns. They have a more sort of softer
approach. They're there to give directions, if
and
anything
whatever.
else.
That's definitely a good idea.
Yeah.
Although I think the actual dealing with situations, they've got the booth, as you say, at the beginning of Walking Street. I think they do that pretty well. And whilst you talk about Pattaya being this, more dangerous than Bangkok and having a reputation in the press, I'm not so sure I agree with that when you actually scratch the surface. I mean, Pattaya, like for instance, I remember before I came out watching one of those fly on the wall documentaries, all about Pattaya and what goes on a night in Pattaya. And of course, there's all these intriguing stories to people from the UK and Europe and that because of what we have. This guy married with 4 kids runs off for a ladyboy, etc., etc. That's obviously sort of tabloid sort of media. But if you look at the actual what was happening on this night out, I'll never forget this. One of the episodes, there was a story on a guy who'd left his phone on a table in McDonald's and it had been taken. Now, if that's a crime for the night going on, and it's being reported, believe me, any town or city in the UK or Europe
1,000 times a day in London.
10,000 more worse things going on. I mean, you have a city there where, amongst themselves, which again exists in all cities and towns around the world, there's a culture of violence and there's criminal gangs and the rest of it. But from a tourist point of view, for me, Thailand is a hell of a lot safer than anywhere else in Europe, and Pattaya is no exception there. I mean, I've never felt threatened in Pattaya. Of course, I suppose if you're new to the town and you've got some of these, bars that can appear quite threatening, and possibly some of the, the ladyboys and this sort of thing in an evening, it can seem threatening and it can be a little bit worrying when you first arrive. But when it comes to actual real bad things happening,
the bad things seem to happen like on the outskirts to more Thai-orientated bars. Like the karaoke. You see a shooting outsider. I go, well, I don't even know where that bar is. It's out.
This is different stuff. This is mafia. This is money lending. This is nothing that any tourists or hopefully most expats would ever be involved with. I mean, there's a way that Thais operate.
You're saying it's safer than let's say, Ibiza or whatever it is, or Blackpool, or a UK city centre?
1,000,000%. You've got a lot less chance of having a glass put in your face in Pattaya than you have in Blackpool. That's
true. That's true. Very true.
What you did say was, and I think this comes in every topic that we bring up with these improvements, is the corruption side, which, the scams, obviously the jet skis, it's been an ongoing saga since I've came here, and probably obviously before, whenever a jet ski was invented, the scam started. And that is the mafia. That is, I'm not going to, put my name out there now and start accusing people, because I want to live my life.
I would know who was involved in it.
But, it's a Chombery thing. It's, whatever it is and they've got their fingers in all these pies where everything is going wrong. We're going to talk about beaches in just a moment. But when a mafia gang or group take over an operation, they don't give a shit about everybody else. They just want That is what we're targeting. That's where we get our money. They don't care about any reflections from how that's going to alter anybody else's life and enjoyment. So the skis are great. Who doesn't want to go on a jet ski?
Yeah, but it's up to the authorities to
there has to be regulation on all this stuff.
To stop
having
that foothold.
I actually hate that word mafia. Because mafia says it's highly organised and it's international
I think some
trafficking.
of it's highly organised.
I think on the things like jet skis and things, it's just certain people. It's not like a massive organisation.
Oh, I would disagree with you.
I would say in the 1990s, 80s, 90s, yes, there was a very strong mafia, and actually, it was actually, in my opinion, actually of benefit to Pattaya because they controlled the other foreign mafias.
Kept it safe.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, the Russian. Yeah, but the jet skis. It has to be big people because it's carrying on. And there's been clampdowns or attempted clampdowns by the police to stop. I've actually been a victim on that. I was here a year and I had to spend a whole day at the police station on Beach Road arguing, no, I didn't do that. No, I didn't do it. Guess
Before
what?
the days of video phones as well.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Difficult to prove.
And it's still going on to this very day. So somebody high up must be organising it.
But does it just happen here, or do you think it does happen
everywhere
in
the world.
Spain? Do you think it happens in Venezuela? You know, do you think?
Of course it does,
So I'm again not necessarily overly convinced that Pattaya or Thailand as a whole sits in a worse place.
No,
in fact, if anything, I think it sits better.
Yeah, but that's not the point. The point is that here, with the police especially, is there is call it a fear, call it they have control. They really do have the control here, and they can make that difference.
But it's not an argument to say that it's everywhere. So what? Well, let's stop it.
But I think it's less. I think it's less here than it is. If there was a league table of who was doing well with preventing people getting themselves into trouble on holiday, I think the Thais would be high up in that table.
You would say, so giving the police maybe 30,000 baht every month for your bar to stay open till 2, that's just local corruption, not on a big scale with the word you don't like, mafia.
That takes it into a different level, and that's not something that I sort of know or understand. I think we all know about the fact that there's prostitution which is illegal in the country, but yet every single bars that offer prostitution obviously have to pay money because they're breaking the law. That's something which is so embedded culturally that it's not my place to say right, wrong or indifferent about any of that.
So how would you get rid of
how it is?
Actually, on that point, I know it's going off, we'll get back to Pattaya. On that point, I've heard the same thing as you, that some establishments, bars, pubs, go-go bars, they have to pay. But in one way, it's actually like an insurance policy, paying for insurance. When something goes wrong, the police immediately come and take care of the issue for you. And if you're not, they can be a little bit slower, as I understand it. I'd never get involved in the bars.
Yeah, me neither.
That's a bit like an insurance. How they do business.
I thought it was just simply a case of you're paying money to break the law.
Yeah, exactly. Not protection.
There's a fee. If you want to break the law, there's a fee to break the law.
I think protection doesn't.
So that should stop.
Yeah. So my question.
Just stick by the rule. And
what you mean legalise prostitution?
Legalise it. Allow bars. If it's a 1 o'clock close time, everyone shuts at 1. You can't pay a little bit extra to them till 2.
Yeah. That spoils that spoils, like you say. What was your word before? Higgledy-piggledy-ness off on the previous one. That spoils that aspect of it.
All right, okay. So, all right, I was going to ask another question, but we better move on. So how do you tackle scams? But, that's...
All right, so the next one is...
beaches. Down. Well, I think we've talked about it on the other things. The main attraction... For me, as I look upon it, and I know I don't live in Pattaya, but this is from a tourist perspective, is that you're by the sea, you've got the sun, and you've got the sand. The 3 things that would draw me to Pattaya. Otherwise, I could go to Suratani, or I could go anywhere else. That's what draws me. So, a major part is the beaches, where, actually, to be honest, they're looked after quite well. You go down there first thing in the morning, they've been raked. They're clean-ish. It's the sea. The sea is the biggest problem, I think, when it comes to beaches, because people do know that they are slightly polluted. And look, I tried to find out how clean are the seas around Thailand, to be honest. And it's like looking to solve a murder cold case thing. There is hardly any evidence of it. But I've actually found one. And this was in the Nation from 3 years ago, and the link they had who did the survey wasn't open. So I couldn't even find out, but it was in the Nation.
What the score was.
And they went round. Now look, they marked these beaches. The best beaches would have got the highest possible 5 stars, but none actually qualified with 5 stars. Most of them are in the middle rank of 4 stars. Hat Sai Kiao in Samet, Hua Hin, Choang, Samui Island, Karon in Phuket, and Had Yao in Phi Phi Islands. They got a 4, which is pretty good. It's not 5, but pretty good. 8 other most visited beaches.
This was from an independent outside of
find the
Thailand.
source. Yeah, this was from the Nation, and the link that they had for the survey, I couldn't get it anymore.
It's a guideline, okay.
So, but it was in the net. 8 other visited beaches found to have slightly lower quality, given 3 stars. They are Pattaya Beach, Bang Sen, Chonburi, Cha'am, Phetchaburi, Wanapa, Rayong, Lamai in Samui, Patong, Phuket, Lo Dalum in Phi Phi, and Tonsai in Phi Phi. There was one that got a 2-star. A big surprise. Jom Tien Beach was found to be the worst among the 14 beaches, getting only 2 stars. Jom Tien's low ranking is in contrast to the general public's belief that the beach is relatively cleaner than the nearby Pattaya Beach.
That's interesting. You said that was from 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, because I mean, I can't sort of time place my thoughts on this, but certainly one thing that I've noticed since I've been living in Pattaya, and I've been living there 5 years, is that Pattaya Beach itself has improved beyond recognition, especially North Pattaya.
Yeah.
And Jom Tien has almost gone the other way.
Yeah.
And I've lived in both. I've lived both in Pattaya Beach and I've lived down in Jom Tien.
Yeah.
And Jom Tien seems to have got worse while Pattaya's got better. Although I would have thought that was a bit more recent than 3 years ago, if that's when this survey was taken. So it's been a bit tricky. It's a bit like the old, what's that game with the things come up, you know, and you smash the
frog
thing
in
out,
the head.
and then the other one comes up, you know. And I think that's probably the challenges they have. And I think also with Jom Tien, I mean, Jom Tien is enormous. I mean, you know, you've got, I don't know what it is. I mean, from sort of the north side
It's
where
got 11
Hemingway's
7-Elevens
is, up to where, you know, the seafood restaurants are. I mean, it must be 9
There's
kilometres.
11 7-Elevens along there.
Well, I'd have thought there'd be more than that. I mean, it's so huge, and of course the south part of Jom Tien used to be very popular with Russians, and of course there was a phase where the Russian money wasn't coming in, although it did pick up again, and you know I won't mention the C word, so I know it's not the right thing to do, but it's since that's happened, obviously no tourists are coming, but I think that's a factor as well.
Just to clarify, that was to do with COVID. It wasn't the other C words.
I should know they know that.
I can think of a load of C words that I'm not allowed to mention here. But
so I guess it's not having, you know, if you haven't got people coming in, you know you need the money to maintain and whatever.
Do you remember the show we did when I was talking about they put that plant up about 2 years ago because there was a load of they found a pipe just pouring black shit into the thing.
I watched it,
and they put a sanitation plant in. It cost 120 million baht. Do you remember us?
Yeah.
And it never got working. When they started it up, they needed spare parts. Couldn't buy the spare parts. The whole thing never ever was in operation. 120 million.
Well, I
just
think
still lying there, I guess. I don't know.
As you know, it's having that longer term planning, which I don't think is always particularly the strong points of some of the sort of municipality people, you know, the mayors and this sort of thing, you know, because you've got this idea and you've got to go from A to Z, and as you know, in Thailand, often we get from A to Q, and then something else comes up, and this is maybe one of the reasons.
Well, just finishing off my points, like food is very good on the beach. I know lots of people there. They have the grilled prawns and everything. They say it's nice. I think it should be regulated to make sure that there isn't, you know, the prices are right. No one's getting ripped off. Once again, that word regulation. Drinking should be allowed. I think they should put up some beach bars along the beach. But what I don't like is the way the speedboats come in and they anchor, you know, where people are sunbathing. All right, pay for a deck chair, no problem. But you should be allowed to bring your own deck chair, put it down. And it's a beach thing, right? I hate to see, like, the jet ski should be at one area where you get the banana boats and the paraglide shooting or whatever they call it down one end. Not to interrupt that beautiful beach.
You're talking specifically Pattaya or
Pattaya
Beach?
I'm talking about Pattaya. I see the boats coming up and they're anchored. I don't like to see that on a public beach that should be for people going into the sea and sunbathing. To me, it's well, the Thai word's nagliat. I can't think of the English word. It's not, I don't know, I think it should be just a beautiful, like the Riviera, a beautiful stretch of sandy beach with the lovely sea. People can sunbathe on there, and they can get their food. They can go to a beach bar along smoking areas.
Beach bars, though, isn't it? Because I mean, ultimately, you know, especially when you've got a busy weekend, and a lot of the Thais, and there just simply isn't the room. I mean, you know, people need to sit on the beach like they do.
Beach, right?
Well,
I'm not talking about. I'm only talking about one or two, but you know, like you would do in Barcelona.
Yeah, who gets that? Who gets that one or two? And you know, I'm not sure that works. I mean, I'm trying to think about places I've been, like say, where there's plenty of room, like Goa, for instance. Yeah. Goa is an example. That's ideal for beach bars because the beach is so vast. And possibly Jomtien now it might work. Where we talked about before, the slightly neglected area. Where there was more Russian tourism earlier. Yeah, that sort of area could benefit from.
Jomtien Beach was more for I always remembered it as being more a Thai beach. More Thai people would go to Jomtien than Pattaya.
It's kind of
was it a mixed
changed over the years. At some points, it's just been seen as an extension of Pattaya. Yeah. At some points, as I say, there was certainly a lot of.
I think
Russians.
older people might go there.
There's a lot of. Yeah, a lot of condos and everything down there. There's been a lot of investment from sort of Russia and China and that sort of thing. And you say it's a big enough beach. So I think your point about the the beach bars might work in Jomtien. In fact, right now would be a good time to do it because it might rejuvenate.
Here's the question: if you redevelop that beach road, and you've got these little beach bars, these guys are paying 200 grand a month. It takes business away from them, and you a little guy who sets up a barrel selling Singer beer, that's really not fair. I think.
Well, that's part of the hickledy-pickledy.
Well, it can't work on Beach Road. Beach Road, for me, as I say, to go back to what we discussed in the previous show, should almost literally be that beautiful Riviera where people go from A to A to seafront. It's a walk, beautiful walk
Bistros,
all the way.
Coffee shops,
yeah, exactly. You take away all the traffic altogether, so it's purely the tram, purely pedestrianised. You know, you can have street entertainment and that sort of thing going on, and clowns and
on the beach,
and they can, if it's for things like food or whatever they decide, they have certain locations. They don't just turn up and put up on the side of the street. I also think another thing is to do with the cleanliness. You know, I'm not sure what the situation is presently, but before. That was the old pink toilet paper reputation, because of the sewage,
Right.
And I know they've put nets up, to stop pink toilet paper, but is it cleaner now? Is it far cleaner?
They say the sea is.
Can you swim there?
You know, again, typical. It's like a lot of people that live by the beach. You never really go to the beach that often.
You Google it and it says no. The first thing that comes up says not recommended. So, you know, you can't clean the sea. All you've got to do is stop further pollution and it will get cleaner.
Yeah, well, a lot of pollution does not necessarily come from...
No, it comes from boats.
It comes from boats and the cleanup is... I mean, look at
also,
Mauritius.
I mean, again,
my God. You've got an island which is full of rubbish.
I'm no marine sort of biologist or meteorologist or anything like that, but it does seem that, you know, depending on the type of weather and that sort of thing, how much different the sea can actually look. You know, so
I would just say it's the jewel of Pattaya, and I will say that through everything. The main resource is the beach, the sea, that will make everything else that we've talked about, with the help of good transport, Pattaya thriving again. And I think that's the right white elephant in the room.
Those sort of, as you say, looking at the quality of the sea, I presume that survey that you referred to earlier covered off both beach and sea when it got the rate. Having some kind of testing, as you say, of the water.
And it's not
I think
being
would do
done.
Thailand the world of good.
But it's not being done, and there's no research being done. It's kept quiet for some reason.
So that's basically an action that should be... Like you can't sort of say, oh, well, today, it's a bit dirty today, so don't go swimming. It's like having somebody with a shark. There's a shark.
Well, they do that.
Get out the water.
In Australia and that, don't they? You know.
Okay, so your next one, destinations.
Well, again, I'm just a lot of the points that I was going to bring up have probably been covered already, but I was more looking at, you know, the people that come to Thailand, and you know, we've done well not mentioning the COVID word so far, but obviously we do have to address the fact that it is here, and we're not sure how much longer it's going to be with us. And whilst we read differing reports on a daily basis. One interesting incentive or idea that I heard that the Tourism Authority of Thailand were coming up with was this idea about offering guys that come out for the winter or girls, an incentive whereby they would get a visa on arrival, which would allow them to stay for 3 or 4 months. Yes, they'd still be forced into their quarantine, their alternative state quarantine, for the first 2 weeks.
Days, yeah.
This would happen in an island, so it can be easier controlled. So they would fly them into Phuket or maybe Koh Samet or somewhere, and they would sit them there, and the 2 weeks. Then once that 2 weeks is done, they would then be free to effectively travel around the country as they wish for the other 2, 3, 4 months. And I thought that was a really good idea, and I think often, there's so much negativity, as you know, about people sort of criticising, the powers that be when it comes to this whole COVID situation. I think it's good to hear something like that, which is positive and makes sense, because these people are very, very important to the economy of Thailand.
Correct.
Much more so than the guy who might be paying $700 a night for his 5-star, 3-bedroom suite at the Amari Hotel. But what is he doing really? Often he's eating in the restaurants in the Amari. He's not necessarily spending money in the economy. Whereas, of course, you've got the guys that come over for the longer periods of
on
time.
On a shorter, lower budget.
They're often playing. Well, even not necessarily. I mean, the golf is a good example. As you know, the golf in Thailand is incredible. These guys might play golf 3 times a week. They're more likely to eat at more localized types of restaurants. Yes, they're going to be probably spending money in the bars, the massages,
well, their money has to go
the caddies from the golf courses. All these sort of people who are the heart and the beating heart of the country and need support.
People that are coming here for a 2-week holiday won't come because it's 14-day quarantine, so they're off. People that are coming here for a 3-week holiday still won't come because it's 2 weeks quarantine and just 1 week holiday. It's only people that are going to stay for longer than 2 months can actually say, okay, I'll write that 14 days off. They're still in a nice hotel, and maybe those hotels in Phuket may be a little bit more liberalised than the government quarantine hotels here in Bangkok.
Well, even if they weren't, you could out a bit. You could just make sure it was a good deal, I think.
Yeah,
I think you can do that with some of them here. I'm going off on a tangent a little bit. I think it depends. I've heard stories about some of the quarantines, the higher end options will offer you like an hour in the gym and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
You could book an hour in the gym and this sort of thing.
So it may be, because you're on an island, you can go walk along that beachfront, or I don't know.
Something which makes the quarantine
a little bit better.
Not the reason why you wouldn't come for 4 months, basically.
In fact, you could find it quite relaxing.
Okay, so that's one thing about destination. I've heard different things, like you said about Phuket. I think they've got to move. I think we've got to get a point with this COVID situation where we say we minimise risk, but we're not going to stop people coming. And basically, the people who can afford to go on the COVID quarantine situation, you've already separated certain people from coming back. I think it should, for the retirement, I understand for people on retirement visas, they're the next group to come in, and then people on with families here are also being allowed to come back under quarantine. But with destinations as well, what I'd like to see is, there's so much out there. I mean, I was speaking to a friend who lives down in Pattaya, and he was saying, there's so many islands and things outside there which are absolutely beautiful. And I'd never heard of them.
It's probably 5-star water.
I've got friends who've got boats, and I'd rather that everyone else hadn't heard of them, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right.
I've been to a couple.
So what I'm saying is that
it would spoil those days out. For me.
I'm sure.
But I mean, look. I mean, Koh Lan is the big one, which I think it does get populated with tourists. When under normal circumstances, and you've got day trips there and that type of thing. And you're right. There are a few others around, but I mean, we've also got a big coast. You say you've got all of that sort of South Jomtien.
It's owned by the Navy. Some of it is private.
Santahip,
Well,
but it's all naval. You're not allowed to go on them.
Well, you can. I mean, you need to be with a Thai generally. Yeah.
Yeah, but the boat starts to go near, because I used to go out there and they leave a warning. There's a warning sign.
That's interesting. I was down in Bangkok Chitchat for the first time in ages on the weekend, and
nice, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, it was lovely then because it was quiet, and whilst we kind of, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it, in some way? I mean,
it's never over busy, is it, Bangkok?
Oh, I believe it is when
Is
the
it?
tyres come down. I mean, but now because again, it's just one small road.
Yeah, yeah.
But there must
a couple
be
of seafood pier restaurants, right?
How about 20?
I would say it's 4 years since I've been.
Precisely, it was
Sorry.
almost that since I've been down the
Wow.
front, which is what surprised me. And I went to see a guy about something, and he was saying to me, yeah, if you drive back that way along the beach, he said you see about 20 bars there now. 20 bars and restaurants. They're not bars in the cheap, the Pattaya style bars.
Yeah.
They're nice. They're nice
Not
places
Vegas
with
style,
good TVs and good pool tables. And they've also got, as you say, quite a few seafood restaurants.
They've got a fish and chip shop there now. The Bust is something. A friend of
But
mine's
shouldn't it be
opened
also? I mean, with regards to we're looking at local tourism just now, right? That's because people can't come in. Yeah? But should they not promote the destinations to the Thai and the expat? Now they're opening some. The tourism authority are trying to put promotions together for expats now, where it was only.
I know, saw that in the news.
Yeah.
We're one of
which
them
is
now.
good. But to promote that for islands, because when you've got a friend coming across and maybe they stay with you for a couple of days, they're going to go somewhere else. They ask, where should I go? What should I do? Da, 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 da. And I think if there's more promotion of things like the islands, certain activities, etc., promotion of conventions and
I
things
think
like
the
that going
islands
on,
are promoted.
I think they should be
though.
promoting the destinations more for Pattaya and the surrounding
You mean
area.
using it as a hub to go off to somewhere?
Yes, I mean,
What, like fly or boat or car?
well,
or
I mean,
what?
also you got Utapao Airport, which they're trying to develop into something bigger.
Yeah, I agree with
it
that.
is
I
now
agree
getting
with introducing more of a maybe sort of 2 or 3 centre holiday where Pattaya is part of it. I mean, with Utapao there now, okay, I guess it's been this way for some time, but I'm not sure how many people do it, whereby, you'd have your jungle and your beach holiday, where you might go up to Chiang Mai or Chiang Rai or whatever from Pattaya
I think
itself,
that's a great way of
and
having
do
a
the
holiday.
2-3 centre holiday.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely something Pattaya has an advantage of, because most people, when they come from overseas, they fly into Bangkok, and therefore then it's only a short drive to Pattaya. Then they can go to their Chiang Rai, and then they can come back to Bangkok. Arguably, some people might want to do it the other way around, so they get the beach first. But
now
still,
they can
do that. They can do
Now
that triangle. Whereas if you're going down to Phuket, you've got you've got that much further to go. Secondly, you've got a lot less international flights coming from Australia, Germany, Europe, wherever, going directly into Phuket. So I think that's
lots of
something
them,
which.
yeah.
So what you're saying is, like, you spend the first 3 or 4 days in Vegas, in Pattaya, and then you fly up to Chiang Mai, Chiang Rai, more rural, more inland, then end up your holiday back in Pattaya.
Do you know what they need to do as
and
well?
then off to Utapao home.
They need to change the name from Utapao to Pattaya Airport.
Absolutely,
And
that's a good idea.
that will absolutely, reinforce the
What
idea
does
that you can
Utapao
fly
mean?
to Pattaya.
Anybody know?
Again, I think it's probably something to do with the military or something like that, is it?
Well, I mean, all I know is now it's unrecognisable to how it was.
It's getting
They've got-
there, yeah.
And they're getting
yeah.
all the concession shops. Guess who's there? King Power already.
Yeah, absolutely. There. Well, I travel there often. I used to I do trips to Udon for work, and I often take that flight from Pattaya Airport to.
I know, I like
to
the
Udon
sound of
Thani.
that. I like that.
I think it's important because ultimately, and again, like you say, and I'm sure this is in the plans for the people that are looking to, make Pattaya a better destination. I'm sure they will do that, and then in due course, if it can take as many international flights as say Phuket can, then suddenly we're catching up with them, and we're getting there. And don't forget from there as well. You've got Bang Sarai, which is a resort in
I love
itself,
Bang Sarai.
coming onto its own, and that's even closer to the third airport.
I've
there
been
to
told by an authority that Bang Sarai won't be allowed to go the Pattaya Jomtien route. They will expand it, but they will keep it classy. That's what I've heard.
No, I asked the
what's
question of this
after,
guy.
What's after Bang Sarai?
Well, you've got Ban Chang, which if you keep going down again, Ban Chang, there's room for development there. I mean, there's only the couple of places on the beach. I mean, okay, the beach isn't. Yeah, it's one of them where the sea comes
So
right
we're
up.
talking about Eastern Seaboard.
Yeah.
That's it,
Oh, it's going well, yeah.
And then, of course, after that, you've got I can't remember what it's called, where you get the boat to Koh Samets. You keep going around there. It's Rayong is the area. I think it might be called Rayong Ban Pei.
It's where you can get that speedboat or the ferry.
Yeah, and then so that whole area is open for development. And once the once the airport becomes, you know, a more integral part of that, it really is going to offer lots of opportunity for the whole eastern seaboard. And you say you could have a 2-centre even within the eastern seaboard. You know, you could have your chilled out sort of 5-star time, and then go down to Pattaya for, you know, for a bit of a bit of fun.
That's going to stay. Shall we leave it there?
I think we've beaten this one up, yeah? And I'm sure we're going to have an awful lot of comments.
Well, on that theme, like part 1 we did promotion, transport and entertainment. On this one we did law enforcement, beaches and destinations. If you've got any Pattaya improvement suggestions, then please just put in on the chat below, and we'll debate it, obviously give you a shout out, but we will talk about it.
Yes.
And that's the whole point. That is just our 6. And you know, I know Craig lives in Pattaya, we live in Bangkok, so I'm looking upon it as a tourist. Yes, all right, I'm not a young'un anymore, and Andrew's getting there. So, you know, there's younger people that obviously want their thing as well. But if you could, you know, tell us your suggestions, it would be great. If you haven't watched before the channel and you've just stumbled upon us somehow, then please subscribe. And also sharing is the way that we can, you know, share our video and get more people to watch. So I'd like to thank Craig, who's driven all the way up here to Bangkok from Las Vegas, and that would be in the future, right? Yeah, Pattaya, Vegas. And thank you ever so much, Craig. No, we enjoyed your company and your input. It was really good. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, and yeah.
Okay.
All good.
Thank you, Andrew, as normal.
Yep, okay.
And a big thank you to myself. Okay, Bangkok Chit Chat, Pattaya Report.
See you later.
See you later.